And welcome back to the Cover 3 podcast here on CBS Sports. That's Tom Fornelli. That's Bud Elliott. I'm Chip Patterson coming to you live at youtube.com/cover3 and everywhere you get your podcasts on demand. Thanks for hanging out. Smash that subscribe, smash that like, and come and join us in the chat, a.k.a. the Cover 3 Tailgate, where we are trying to send Neil Brown to UMass, which does connect to interesting games that I would like to hit before the end of this show. Just maybe not at the very top. We are rocking and rolling. It is 10-7, BYU leading Kansas at the 6:20 mark as we come to you live at 11:32 p.m. Eastern time. Lots to get to, including reactions to the biggest results, some crazy upsets, some crazy finishes, some upsets that didn't happen. But in the wake of everything that just happened in Athens, I thought that we would begin with Georgia and Tennessee. So, Tom, before we get to impact, and obviously tomorrow's top 25 today will let us also talk about some CFP and playoff implications. Let's just talk about the football here.
Sure.
Dude, I know. I mean, apparently the football. It's crazy that we would talk about that. Do you think that Georgia coming in with all of their, as imperfect as they were, did they change your mind tonight? Or are you just impressed with like the way that they played in this particular game?
It's weird. Did they change my mind? That's a tough question to answer because I felt like they were still capable of winning a national title.
The ceiling, they were imperfect, but the ceiling was
tonight was an excellent reminder of what they are capable of when they're not messing around and turning the ball over. And when they kind of stick to what makes them good. Like I felt like that was a Mike Bobo, I hear the haters game. You know what I mean? Like they were really deliberately figuring out ways to get the ball to their tight ends, whether it was Urasek or Dope. They combined for 9 catches, 107 yards, 2 touchdowns. The run game still not, I think, where they would want it to be. Like Frazier had a decent night and Carson Beck was able to help out with his legs, but overall just not terrific. I think the injury.
I mean, we're working Dylan Bell into the backfield.
Yeah.
And we're doing like anything we can do to try to make it happen.
Yeah, they were trying to figure out things to do, and it still wasn't working. That could be, that's a problem. But if that's the only problem they have, like they had tonight, then you're probably going to be pretty good against most teams that you face. And I think so. The game plan, getting the tight ends back involved, much more successful vertically in the passing game, I felt, than they have been. And I think a big part of that was just Carson Beck looked like Carson Beck from last year, like towards the end of last season, the guy that we were kind of all getting hyped up about. I don't know, what the hell happened to him this week, but I guess maybe he just got out of whatever funk he was in. Maybe somebody swiped right and he got, he was feeling good about himself. But like 25 of 40.
He's a taken man now, okay?
25 of 40, 347, 2 touchdowns, and he just looked good. Like even he looked better in the pocket. He looked like he was handling pressure better than he has been. He wasn't panicking. He was taking what was there, and he was also taking deep shots and being aggressive. I feel like that was probably, obviously maybe in one of their non-conference games, they looked incredible, but I didn't really watch them all that close. As far as the SEC play is concerned, I think that might have been their most complete game of the year.
Totally agree with Tom. I think the reason Carson Beck, excuse me, I think the reason Carson Beck looked as good as he did, he wasn't touched. Georgia shuffled the offensive line. They moved Freeling from right to left. They shuffled a couple things on the inside. And Tennessee had 2 tackles for loss the entire night. No sacks, almost no hits on Beck. I mean, Beck scrambled a little bit, but honestly, like the one nice scramble he had, it wasn't like he was under a ton of pressure. He just realized man coverage and they were running crossers and they had guys that followed. And I mean, just the ability for him to sit back there and dissect. The one throw he makes for the first touchdown, that's a nice throw. It's also really has a lot of the characteristics of the super risky throws that he had been making and not getting away with earlier in the season. So, I mean, was he way different tonight than he had been in previous weeks? In some ways, yeah. But I think a lot of that is attributable to the fact that he just was not pressured. Georgia's offensive line beat Tennessee's defensive line. Not physically whipped him in the run game, but they protected Carson beautifully. Tennessee got zero pressure on Carson Beck all night. And we knew that Tennessee, especially once Peely went down, their backers were susceptible in coverage, and we knew the secondary was not great. It's a secondary you could win a national title with, but not because of. And you could hide it if the defensive line was getting pressure like it had been doing for a lot of the season. Tonight, they didn't get it, and they lose. Like, to me, it is. I just get where's Pierce? Like, where's Norman Lott? Where's Thomas getting pressure up the gut on Beck? And it wasn't to be found. Nice job.
Are you in on the nice job, Bobo?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, did they really do that much different stuff here? Honestly, like the one little like tight end follow screen they did coming out of was it the first quarter endings, like being in the second quarter out of a TV timeout, it got called back for a hold. But I thought that was pretty creative. But the other stuff, like they always try to scheme open shots to Arian Smith in big games early in the game. You know it's coming. If you bet Arian Smith overs, generally you got a pretty good idea. Like, okay, this is going to hit or not hit, like midway through the second quarter, because they're trying to get him wide open on some play action stuff. I thought he called, I definitely don't think he called a poor game, but almost anything you call is going to work if you're just keeping all the pressure off the quarterback. Like he was not touched, and that was Tennessee was just stoned by Georgia.
And to your earlier point, Tom, the reason why I offered a really big head nod is that Kirby Smart was just here in that post game, and he was very intentional about saying our quarterback, our offensive coordinator. Like, the question was about Carson Beck setting it up before we throw to Carson Beck with Laura Rutledge. And the answer for Holly Rowe was like, yeah, our quarterback, our offensive coordinator. It was very clear that everybody inside that building has been hearing the criticism and the complaints. And I don't know if this placates all of the analysis about their shortcomings along the way, but a massive win for anything that Georgia wants to accomplish this season. You had to have this game. And so good on the Bulldogs for that. What about the Tennessee side?
Defense, pass rush, as Bud was mentioning, got completely stonewalled. It was just non-existent. And when that's not working for them, it's hard for them to win anywhere else. And then offensively, it's like a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. Nico's either overthrowing the receiver or he's hitting them in their hands and they're dropping it. It's like there's just no consistency in their passing game. It's like anytime they complete a pass, it feels like a small miracle just happened. And there were some nice, easy throws, but there were also times where, he had guys wide open, not wide open, but he had them open, and he was just throwing them high and missing them. And then there were other times where he was just kind of hitting them in the hands. Like I said, they would drop them. Like, it's just, I don't know what's going on with them at this point in time, if it's just mental where there's just like these dropsies going on every single time. But it's hard to beat a team like Georgia when you can't consistently catch a football.
I was a little surprised at how much pressure up the gut Georgia got on Tennessee. They also did a nice job with some of the defensive line movement stuff that they do to get you to jump. Tennessee had 2 jumps on the night on that, and it just they didn't look super comfortable even when they didn't jump. And I think that gives you a bit of like a more oomph on your pass rush, if you will, if the O-line's just kind of jittery because you're moving around a bunch. So that's why you do it. And I thought they were very effective in doing so.
The rest of the way for Tennessee, there's not a lot that they can do to change their future. I mean, just try
win,
to
baby.
Just win, baby. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's about it. Again, we'll get to the ranking side of this, but there's an SEC side of this too. And I was playing around with.
The answer is I have no idea.
Oh, have you found the generator?
Mm-hmm.
There's a generator?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah.
You want to give the guy a shout out?
Do you have his Reddit username?
No, the page that I've been using is bball.notnothing.net /
Yeah, give him a shout out. So repeat that one more time. I didn't mean to talk over you.
bball.notnothing.net.
Best I can tell, him or her has been using this mostly for basketball, I guess, for a while to figure out like how things would break out down the line. They've got the conference tiebreakers factored in here. including the idea that I did not even realize until I started playing around with this, that Alabama, which, by the way, is not going to get a lot of time here on this podcast because they beat Mercer. Congratulations. Their opponent's winning percentage is so strong that if they beat Oklahoma and Auburn, they should be set.
Yep.
Alabama, which lost to Tennessee, and Tennessee, which lost to Georgia, and Georgia, which lost to Alabama, and Georgia, which lost to Ole Miss.
It'll be easy to pick the rankings apart on Monday. We know that.
Yeah, 100%. And we'll do our best to project what's going to come from that a little bit later on in the show. Okay. Before we keep getting further into SEC land, Bud, I want to ask you, do you think that what we saw from Oregon was just the pressure of the moment, the pressure of the 8th game, the pressure of the situation and the scenario, or is there any larger Oregon takeaway? Because there's a moment, like there is maybe a 20-minute time, whereas I'm sort of trying to put together tonight's show, we're like, Oregon might lose this.
Yeah.
Like there was a real threat that Oregon was going to lose this game. So
there was a moment where Oregon became main screen and Tennessee, Georgia became second screen. It was about 10 minutes long, but there was that moment. In watching this, like I'm charting like success rate live, and I'm like, all right, Wisconsin's success rate sucks. Like what they're doing is probably not super sustainable, at least on offense. Defensively, though, they kind of just said, hey, we're not going to allow the ball over the top. We're going to tackle everything underneath. We're going to try to be really physical and play blocks well. And I thought they came out and I thought their defense had more juice. Like, that's great analysis, Bud. But, like, sometimes that's just it, right? You play with more fire early on. Like, that game early on, it felt like it meant more to Wisconsin. Backs against the wall, at home, at night, than it did to Oregon. And they were a little more physical than Oregon was. And they were a little sharper. And they felt like they had a nice read on what Oregon was doing. They were not allowing the balls over the top. They were denying the explosive play. And if you're going to do that, you also have to tackle really well. Otherwise, those shorts become explosives themselves. And I thought they tackled extremely well for, a lot of this game. And then they go on that super long drive to open the half. Okay, cool. It's like, oh, wow. Maybe. And then Oregon has hit a switch. They're like, hey, you remember like how every team with a pulse has pushed you guys around like crazy this year? We found our pulse. So let's go.
Here's Jordan James.
And basically, from there on out, they just pushed Wisconsin around, which isn't weird because every team that is not like that super banged up Rutgers team, Northwestern, and whoever else Iowa ran for like 340 on this Wisconsin defense. So credit to them for having a good plan. I think they're very outgunned here and deserve a lot of credit for playing well. No team in college football this year is immune from playing poorly at times. And Oregon, they looked a little sluggish. So maybe there is something to the whole, eighth game in a row theory.
Wisconsin had a plan. They executed it well. You mentioned it, Bud. They kept things in front of them, and they did a great job tackling. They also did a great job just not giving up big plays in the run game as well. Like defensively, they weren't getting out of their gaps. They were forcing James to the outside and funneling him to linebackers, and they were making tackles. In the passing game, they were dropping back, keeping everything in front of them. Oregon had 5 red zone possessions and scored 13 points. They played red zone roulette, and they won. They forced the one turnover on the Dylan Gabriel interception, which got tipped and picked off. Then, of course, there was going for it on the 4th down and the field goal attempt and coming up short. But they held Oregon to field goals in the red zone, and that's the only reason this game was close. Because Wisconsin's offense didn't do anything in this game. They had their touchdown drive. Yes, they had the 9-play, 75-yarder late in the first half. But other than that, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 5 plays. The touchdown drive, a field goal drive, 3 and out, 3 and out, 4 plays, 2 plays. Wisconsin finished with 226 yards, averaged 3.6 yards per play, and Braden Locke was 12 of 28 for 96 yards, a touchdown, and interception. Chip, that's why I told you were crazy for taking the Wisconsin team total over, because every time this team has played a good defense this season, the offense has mustered nothing. and they didn't muster anything in this game. Their defense did a fantastic job of giving them a chance to win the game. The offense couldn't follow their part. Pretty much all it was.
I'd take it again.
If I'm the defense, hell yes.
No. I would take the team total over again.
Oh. Okay.
Goofy meme. And I'll effing do it again. No, and obviously as somebody who is watching this game with the interest of trying to get Wisconsin over 17.5 points. Yeah. Tyree Walker would rip off one first down run. You'd be like, okay, more of that. And there wasn't more of that. Like you'd have an easy throw for Braden Locke because, damn it, that's the only completion Braden Locke's going to get on a comeback route. But then all of a sudden, Tyree Walker gets stuffed, and then you've got to go down the field, make a contested throw, contested catch. Wisconsin's not going to win that against Oregon anyway. Oregon's secondary, I think Kobe Savage came over from Kansas State 2 years ago. Jabbar Muhammad came over from Washington last year. We talk a lot. Or I don't want to speak for you guys, but I know that I go on CBS Sports HQ, CBS Sports Network, and sometimes you've got to compact that take for television into just something simple. And I use this phrase. I say, Dan Lanning has mastered modern era roster construction. He recruits at a high level out of high school, and he also identifies good talent out of the transfer portal. And I just use it a lot. But I promise you the substance behind that is players like Kobe Savage, Jabbar Muhammad, going to get Derek Harmon on the defensive line. This Oregon defense has a lot of those portal guys that have been huge for making Oregon the number one team in the country, for making Oregon the only damn team in the country with an 11-0 record on November 16th. And so that's why I know it sounds like I'm just another national media guy who loves Dan Lanning, but I do think that mix of homegrown, we got you out of high school, and also the right fit out of the portal is a huge part of Oregon's success this year.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so longer-term takeaways for Oregon after this game. I do think teams are just going to try to play them red zone roulette style.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You can't let that speed get over the top and let Gabriel lay it out there. They have had red zone issues at times this year. I thought Gabriel, to kind of put the game away, and by the way, good God, Retzlaff, that was when you see it, it leaves a beautiful drive down the field, and that one's going to hurt.
That's a way for it to end, all right.
All right. I thought that the scramble where Gabriel slides in the pocket, sees the opening, gets out to the right, that was beautiful, man. Really nice job of moving in the pocket. But I do think the teams are going to basically try to compress it and see if he can win in the red zone, because he's not a big guy. Was he 5'10" maybe? He's tiny.
Yes.
If you see him in person.
I mean, we remember him in a white suit at Big Ten Media Day.
Yeah.
Got a lot of attention.
It's excuse me, little boy, have you seen Dylan Gabriel?
Shorter than all three of us.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
Standing next to him.
So, still looks like a really good damn team to me, man. I don't know if they're quite as good as some of the teams, from a power rating standpoint, but they're not far off. They're not catching, 10 for anybody, or probably even 7. They got a lot of high level players on that team. I thought they covered the heck out of Wisconsin too.
Yes. I mean, Locke finished with 96 yards and 43 of them came on the one pass. Yeah. They couldn't do anything.
They can cover.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got a lot to get into, so let's go ahead and make sure we hit our partners. And coming up on the other side, America's team almost let us down, but America always has resilience. All that and more next. Back here on the Cover 3 podcast. And, I mentioned that there were a lot of games that had close finishes, crazy finishes. One of the big storylines for me was how hard it is sometimes to win. A lot of these games, you could feel the pressure. You could understand the situation. I felt a lot of pressure when I was thinking about all the opportunities that Eli Drinkwitz was going to have to clip me and just taunt me for years. For the taunting that I had about Missouri football on multiple platforms heading into this game against South Carolina. Because credit Brady Cook. That boy went out there. That was a gutsy performance.
He makes a bit of a difference for that team.
Drew Pine had the sniffles. Was that the best thing? So Brady Cook plays anyway?
Is that what it was?
I don't know.
I just thought he was a game time decision and he gutted it out.
What are they evaluating during game time? Like his entire career? Like, oh my God. Oh no, can't play this guy.
No. So anyway, again, credit to Brady Cook. I thought this game had 3 lead changes in the fourth quarter alone. This game had, I think, 6 lead changes total.
The Mizzou game.
There were multiple touchdowns in the final minutes. South Carolina 34, Missouri 30 is your final. Missouri, in their third true road game against a power conference opponent, does not lose by 34 like they did that one time, and does not lose by 31 like they did that other time. But they do end up falling in Columbia, South Carolina, to Lenoris Sellers, Rocket Sanders, those hard churning legs, breaking tackles, and a South Carolina defense that until the very end, I thought was doing a very good job. To me, it was kind of the thrill of enjoying this game. Tom, what do you have on the notepad coming out of South Carolina, Missouri?
I had the tweet ready. I was ready to send it. It was just the Jesse Pinkman, he can't keep getting away with this meme, but I had tagged Drinkwitz in it, and I was just going to send it out.
Stand by it. Hell yeah. Let's go.
But, well, South Carolina made it pointless. But it was it was a fun football game. And I think that's kind of like it's been like every other Mizzou game so far this year, where it's just kind of a whole lot of nothing for a little while. And then the fourth quarter comes along and things go absolutely insane, whether it was the Auburn game or Oklahoma last week or today against South Carolina, where they just suddenly show up and start scoring a bunch of points. And then the defense decides to stop playing and giving up a bunch of points. I did feel like as I was watching the game, though, that like South Carolina was the better football team, and they certainly looked to be the better football team in the first half. But defensively, like I thought Mizzou, to its credit, did a good job slowing down a very good South Carolina defensive front that has done a very good job against some other really good teams this season. South Carolina finished with only the 2 sacks and the 4 tackles for loss, and considering one of the injuries Brady Cook has been dealing with for the last month or whatever is his ankle. It's not exactly like he was nimble back there and just able to dodge all these guys. For the most part, they were just getting blocked. But I also think on the other side, gutsy performance by Brady Cook. What the hell? Lenoris Sellers, 353 yards and 5 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he had a really good performance last week where he was averaging like 11 yards per attempt. And I wrote in the quarterback power rankings, Chip, so that way you don't have to read it. I'll give you the cliff notes. I said, if he suddenly develops into an efficient passer, holy hell, watch out. And then he shows up today and completes 21 of 30 for 353 and 5. And it's like, holy hell, watch out. If this guy suddenly learns how to throw a football consistently, he's going to be really freaking good.
I think Missouri's only real chance to win this ball game was to sell out against the run and to see if Sellers would continue to struggle like he has in some weeks throwing the football. And unfortunately for Missouri, that was not the case. I mean, 353 through the air. He had good looks. South Carolina had good looks. They schemed it open. I think that they were like, hey, we got to have some kind of counterpunch because people are going to throw every single thing they have at our run game. Because so far this season, our passing game has been hot trash. More often than not. Not every single game, but generally, okay, South Carolina can't really chuck it around very well. He looks healthier. It looked like he knew where the play was supposed to go, and oftentimes his first read was open, and he hit it, and it went. I mean, 30, 26, 43, 29, 38, 47, 39, 15. Those are your explosive plays.
That sounds like explosive plays.
Yeah, those are just the passes.
Yeah,
through the air. That's probably more than South Carolina has had in any other 2 SEC games this year combined. So, yes, I think Missouri, it's kind of like poker, right? Like sometimes like you have to go all in with his hand. they have to be able to protect, and they did. They both played it the way they had to play to give themselves a chance to win, and South Carolina's counterpunch was just better. So nice job, Sellers, and good fight out of Missouri, man. And it's kind of crazy to say about a team that's ranked, but I mean, they were a 2-touchdown dog going into this game. I don't think any of us really thought they had much of a chance to win. They played their butts off.
Again, that's why I wanted to say credit Brady Cook kind of off the jump. So I was like, oh my God. When Luther Burden does something awesome, you're like, well, yeah, of course, he's Luther Burden. The 5-star prospect coming out of high school who's delivered highlight after highlight. Has this year lived up to the preseason expectations? No. But in that moment, when they needed a touchdown, he was on the receiving end of a 32, 33, 34-yard touchdown. 36-yard touchdown. Yeah,
that was pretty.
It was good stuff. So to the Alpha Nerd, I don't take back anything, but I do give you flowers for the performance.
Oh, that's very noble of you to congratulate him on a loss when you've been dogging him for every win.
Not every win.
I still haven't forgiven him for the field goal against A&M. I mean, that's never going to happen.
The sad field goal was something for sure. Oh man, I guess talking about Dylan Gabriel has brought him out in the tailgate again. It's I think what Tom 6'3", Tom and Bud about 6'2", 6'3".
Yeah. 6'2", Bud's slightly taller than me.
Yeah, and like Chip right around 6.
Yep. We're the tallest podcast out there.
And Danny's like what? Like legit 6'4" and a half?
6'4", 6'5".
Yeah, legit 6'4", 6'5".
Outside of any podcast hosted by NBA players, we are the tallest podcast out there.
This is true. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like if we did the whole Anchorman thing,
we'd win.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. Come on.
Okay. Which one of them?
Hold on. No. The 27-minute mark is too early for us to spiral into.
All right. Yeah. We got a lot of good games to hit.
We got a lot of good, I don't know about, how about this? I don't know about good games. I'll say fun games, or at least like finishes that I was dialed into.
Entertaining and meaningful?
Entertaining and meaningful. Yes, I'll agree with that.
Okay.
While we're sitting here in the SEC, are you all the way in on this Brian Kelly like hate sesh?
Who's hosting?
2 headlines.
They get Underwood? Then no, I'm not in. If they don't, then yeah.
Okay.
Because I don't think their quarterback for next year is on the roster, assuming Nuss goes pro.
So like the Brian Kelly, yelling at players, which by the way, welcome to life in college football since, I don't know, like all of us have been
stars.
All of us have been covering college football for a long ass time. And like, not like, Dennis died decades on this, but more than decade. And
you're just going Jake Paul on Dennis now. You're just throwing shots at everybody today.
No. Dennis would whoop my ass. I have been on record with that one. But I was just saying that like we can't speak to we covered every single BCS national championship game like Dennis can, but we have been doing this long enough to know that Brian Kelly turning purple because he's yelling at a player on the sideline is something that we've seen at multiple stops.
It's like the leaves changing in the fall, buddy. I don't know what we would do without it.
I'm worried if he doesn't do it. Like if I saw Brian Kelly just looking all calm on the sideline after somebody done something bad on his team, I would assume he was having a stroke. I would be calling 911.
But yeah, so the fact that this team has already taken its 4th loss, where they are, as imperfect as they are, the fact that it's a 3-game losing streak, there is a Brian Kelly, there is an LSU criticism that I think is a strong narrative coming out of this game. It's not the one that I gravitated towards as I was watching it, but as I was, trying to do all the prep and look around everywhere, I noticed it was getting a lot of attention. So if you've got something there, I'll take it. But I do think that playing at home getting this win against a rival is maybe further cementing the Scott Strickland I didn't say 2025 in my statement. Like if Billy needed to go out there and Billy needed to show a little bit more to really push this over the edge, I think that Gators fans left Gainesville feeling a little bit better about the direction of their program given this win.
Florida played like they cared more about this
than LSU did.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's
which makes sense. Like Florida mailed in the game last week against Texas. They didn't try. Not realistically, not without Lagway. I think they had their focus on this one. Meanwhile, like LSU knew its season basically, unless they got major help, kind of slipped away by getting housed against Alabama. Like that, you know, on our guys' group chat, like, Bud, are we betting LSU? Like, what do you think? Florida looked terrible last week. I'm like, I don't know how Florida can bottom worse than that, but LSU definitely can play worse than they did last week because they're like mentally they could have a lot of problems. And I thought Florida. I mean, look, this game is very different. Probably if LSU catches 1 or 2 touchdowns they drop, or if they like 1 of 3 picks they dropped, but they didn't. And Florida kept playing hard. They kept chopping wood. I thought Lagway made 2 awesome plays. I mean, just the one where he almost gets sacked, slides up and just speed releases that thing to Badger. That was beautiful. Nice play calling there at the end, kind of a little wrinkle on the run play. It just felt like they wanted it more. And LSU like controlled the ball, but not the scoreboard, which we've seen them do all the way back to week 0 this year, or week 1.
Week 1 against USC, that weird Sunday game. I mean, it's just the losses outside of the Alabama game are like kind of highlighting all the shortcomings that this team has.
It's not exactly an effort stat, but it's kind of an effort stat. Florida, 11 tackles for loss. LSU, 1. Now, granted, Florida ran far fewer snaps, as we mentioned, because LSU ran 92 plays to Florida's 43, but still, 1 tackle for loss and 43 snaps. Either you were just getting the hell beat out of you, or you weren't going as hard as you could have been.
I think part of the worry is if you're an LSU fan, think about like how crappy you handled the portal this offseason. Are you going to do that again? Because you lose a lot of really good players off this team. We already talked about how you wasted Jaden Daniels. Yeah.
Can this Florida team beat Ole Miss?
Yeah. Yes.
Is that was way too fast? That seems like a SEC rules. Like, yeah, of course.
No, I think it's like the SEC is not that much different than the Big 12 at the top. I don't think the teams at the top are all
in
that
terms
much
of how
better.
close they're.
Yeah, I don't think there's that much of a gap between them.
There are a lot of differences between the SEC and the Big 12. I think
but I'm just saying in comparison to one another.
Yeah, like the top 8 teams, I guess, if I was to draw. I haven't thought this through in my head specifically, but it feels about that range.
One thing about this game that's worth mentioning, though, is like because everything went well for Florida and they won, but it's clear DJ Lagway's hamstring is not 100% yet because he didn't run the ball.
Yeah,
and that's a big part of his game. So, I mean, if his hamstring is still hampering him to the impact that he's unwilling to take off and run, and they don't want to call designed runs for him against Ole Miss, I don't think they could beat Ole Miss. But it is in Florida. So I'm not going to say they can't. It's a tough place to win.
I will say, like LSU's defense is so much worse than Ole Miss's. I think.
I know. I don't need to think.
It's not fixed. Yeah.
Right. Well, I just think personnel. I think Ole Miss's defensive line is better than LSU's defensive line, and I think that so much of what Ole Miss does well starts up front. And didn't Pegues get banged up in the win against Georgia?
Yes.
But if you've got Pegues and if you've got Nolan and if you've got the full Ole Miss defensive line, then that's a better group than LSU has up front.
Yeah.
And that's how they stop the run. It's how they pressure the passer. It's one of the things that makes Ole Miss legitimately one of the better teams in the entire country. So something to definitely keep an eye on moving forward. Again, Florida plays host to Ole Miss next. Let me see.
What you looking for?
I'll tell you what I'm looking for.
Do you believe?
Kind of, yeah.
Tom and I had to talk this game on CBS Sports HQ, and at the time, I think the analysis was very apt. Colorado's not playing well. They're up by double digits.
Yeah.
That tells you everything about how dangerous Colorado can be, that they were so imperfect with the performance and yet dominating, and also how Utah's offense is just broken.
The punt return was a killer early in this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, Utah is very much in this. You still don't think Utah really has a snowball's chance in hell because you've seen enough games of Isaac Wilson to know he's probably not going to score. And like, they're getting so many stops. They actually moved the ball. They had to settle for a field goal, which I was like, that. I think I would have gone for that, but how many times you're really going to get down there? I don't know. Kick the field goal and then immediately the kickoff return or punt return. Like that was just not. That wasn't going to work. Like you had to play like basically perfect on defense, which you did for about 35 minutes. And you had to play like really perfect on special teams, which you didn't do at all. So shouts to them. Looking good.
Yeah, I mean,
Hunter Heisman locked up, you think?
if they I said on HQ earlier this week, I says if they win the Big 12, there's no way in hell he's not winning the Heisman.
Yeah.
So I think that certainly, I mean, I think his performance today, getting the touchdowns on offense and getting the interception on defense, and then having that really awesome catch in a kind of spotlight time slot where nobody else was really playing. So plenty of people had their eyes on it. And then compared to Dylan Gabriel, kind of like playing well, but not putting up monster numbers tonight. Ashton Genty's still playing against like San Jose State, so not a needle mover. I think that Travis is very firmly in control here. Like, as long as Colorado doesn't absolutely blow it down the stretch here, I think he's going to have it.
I'll say that Ashton, two things stood out to me about Genty's performance. Number one, 150 some odd yards and 3 touchdowns?
3 touchdowns, yep.
But he was also called on when San Jose State got out to that 14-0 lead. And I've mentioned this a lot. The Heisman Trophy is not a most valuable player award. It is to the most outstanding player. And to stand out, that doesn't necessarily mean you're valuable. But anyone who's looking for an MVP argument for Genty, the fact that Boise State met some real adversity and they turned to their star player answered. So that was a solid way to continue to bolster that argument. I don't want to use that as my argument in comparison to Hunter, but if we're going to go like stock up, stock down, I would have given more value to what Ashton Genty did in week 12 than what Dylan Gabriel did in week 12, though Travis Hunter, to your point, rushing touchdown, highlight reel catch, interception, getting burned for a touchdown, all those things really, really just sort of build out for the total profile.
I ever told you about the 4 S's of winning the Heisman?
This Chris Houston out here, the Heismanmans?
No, maybe these are just mine. These are the 4 S's: success, stats, star power, and stories. I think if you look at everything that's happening, both Genty and Hunter have both, but I think Hunter has far more star power.
Great.
And I think if Colorado wins the Big 12 and gets a first-round bye, combined with his coach and the attention that is going to bring, he is going to run away with the award.
I also, as I wrote for CBSSports.com weeks ago, there's a 1-of-1 factor to Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The unicorn.
Yeah.
The story is so big.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You could put him, the fact that he's with head coach Deion Sanders only elevates things, but just even the two-way production is uncanny in the modern era. I mean, it is, what's it? Why am I blanking on it? What's Hornung, Paul Hornung, right?
Yes.
Paul Horning.
Is it Horning or Hornung?
I've always thought it was Horning.
Horning?
It's spelled Hornung, right?
UNG.
Yeah, well, Utah running back Mekhi Bernard's first name is spelled Micah, but it's pronounced Mekhi.
Oh, it's been Mekhi. It's always been Mekhi. Anyway,
but it's always been pronounced Micah.
So
or spelled Micah.
The Paul Hornung Award for the best all-purpose player, Paul Horning.
Sources confirm it's pronounced Horning.
In the moment, who's watching live?
Mic drop.
Damn.
I'm just gonna I'm gonna out my sources.
Yes. Anyway,
Paul Horning himself is texting me right now to tell me it's Horning.
The point being, he's from an era of college football where our rosters might have only had 40 people max. You just played everywhere and he was just awesome everywhere. So that's what Travis Hunter's doing. Something we have not seen in decades upon decades upon decades and generations on generations on generations. That kind of all-purpose, two-way contributions and stardom is something that I think is probably his best argument for being the most outstanding player in the country. All right, let's do one last headliner, then we'll just sort of open it up and grab bag a bunch. How do you talk to the Nebraska fan in your life?
I mean, you don't have to talk to Nebraska. Nothing happened today that hasn't happened to them 1,000 times. They have skin that is 8 inches thick at this point from these one-score losses. They just smile, nod, and like, yep, all right, we'll be back next week.
It's 4-21 is our streak right now in the last 25 one-score games.
And I think they've lost 9 straight when they have a chance to clinch bowl eligibility.
God.
Oh,
God.
Yeah, I think that I can't confirm that for sure, but I think that was the stat I saw earlier today. I think it's 9 straight.
So that is Charlie Brown in the football. I don't know if in Charles
Sources
Schultz's,
confirm.
0-9 in games get to a bowl. Wow.
In Charles Schultz's long-running peanut strip, he might not have had Charlie Brown miss the football 9 times.
Yeah.
Because an editor would say, "What are we doing?" No,
What are we doing?
We've got to get to the next part here.
Yeah. Play Freebird.
Holy cow!
Storyboarding on this show.
All right, so Woody Marks has a good game for USC. It's kind of what they had to lean on. Jaden Maeva, I think he got the game-winning touchdown. I know he had 1 touchdown on the ground in this performance.
Yeah, it was the last touchdown of the game.
Yeah,
13 play, 84-yard.
Oh, it's 20. That's 21-20, right? And so they get the final touchdown. So it wasn't winning because they already had the lead, but it put it away. I did not come away feeling any differently about USC. I came away with this some difficulty. I mean, Dylan Raiola has an interception very late as they're trying to go and get the potential game tying score. And a controversial call too.
Oh, the pass interference in the end zone. Yeah, listen, I get it. I really do. Don't put yourself in the situation to let the refs handle the game.
They have called they call that game that way the entire time.
Yeah.
Ooh, that particular game.
If you bet over, you're screwed by that ref. Like that ref crew was going to let everybody clutch and grab the entire time. So it was pretty consistent. Now, granted, that throw in the end zone is late as hell. So it's probably picked anyway, but man, did he
got a lot.
His hands weren't empty.
Bud, you had a pretty good locks week. Was that I didn't see an over on there.
See, I always figure what did I give out on the show? When did I
What's
bet
on the card?
Yeah, I just want to point out
I'm betting everything that I'm giving out on the show, but there's obviously other stuff that that disappears. So I'm trying to remember what lasted all the way till Thursday.
I just want the people to know I'm 20 units down on the show, but in real life I'm up 50. The stuff I'm not giving out on the show. I just, I get it super early and I'm doing really well there. I just want, especially if my wife is watching, I want her to make sure she understands I'm winning a whole lot of bets that you don't know about, sweetie. It's
not
fine.
at the IRS.
No. Those are the dogs barking parlays that are making up for all the losses. Ow!
Thank you, Air Force, Florida, and Arkansas State.
Listen.
Air Force Live, when I was like, oh God, like the last remaining players of whom I know their names on Oregon State's depth chart have gotten hurt in this game, which means they're down to like literal walk-ons. Yeah.
All right.
Air Force was a dog in the second half.
Were they still
on the second half line?
Were they 14-0 at that point?
It was plus a half.
A text would have been nice.
All right. I will next time for sure.
All right. So we got a lot to get to, including things that are left just on my radar. Louisville on the farm.
Sure as hell can't say I didn't see it coming, but it is part of the Jeff Brom experience. You will play great against good teams, and then there will be the one game where you're just like, what the hell happened?
I did not bet Stanford. I regret not betting Stanford. I just couldn't make this thing like that high. I was like this. I couldn't make it 20. Like what is Stanford's motivation to go out to the West Coast, or Louisville's motivation to go out to the West Coast and kill this team? Right? Like they got some like secret grudge, like cards versus card. I don't know, but they laid an egg, and Stanford played their butts off.
Yeah,
like. That's an all-in effort. One you're really repping for. You run your special stuff and it hits type day. Like, hats off to them, man. Like that's a hard season with all that travel. Like, good for them. And for Louisville, it sucks. Obviously, like I don't know. Like the schedule was much harder this year, but I don't feel like they have the same level of like chemistry or like clickiness.
Stanford had 2 wins coming into the day.
You got 3 now.
Only one against an FBS team.
Mm-hmm. Syracuse, right?
But they beat Syracuse.
Yeah. They almost beat TCU.
Yeah. Almost beat Wake Forest.
You don't just walk onto the farm and think you're coming out of there as a 3-touchdown favorite alive.
Offensively, they do some like special prep type stuff. It make like if you don't really take it seriously, they're gonna hit some explosive plays on you because you're just gonna bust coverages.
Yeah,
Ashton Daniels is a lot like Taylor Green that way, whereas it's like every once in a while he's just gonna have a game, and it's gonna be like, oh wow, this guy's incredible, and then but most of the time it's like okay.
Before we move to Arizona State. And some other results. Can we stay in an ACC corner?
You're hosting. You tell us.
So, did you? Which of the 50 yards did you enjoy the most as Cade Klubnik went galloping for a game-winning touchdown with 1:19 remaining?
I enjoyed yard 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 20, 21, every single one of them, Chip, because if that game goes to frickin' overtime and I lose the under and all the live unders and stuff, we're going to have a bad show. Yep. So I was like, I don't care how this gets done. Just
please, in regulation,
score a touchdown. We are not going. We're not going 20-20 to overtime to lose like under what are they 54, 50.
Well, I was doing the math on like, okay, so if they both score and then it goes to 2s and then it's just a 2-point off, like I was because we're in the new overtime rules
and the team total stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I know you can't bet as much on team totals as you can on full games, but like both of them would have almost. Although Pitt's offense,
that's weird, bud. I've never run into those limit problems.
All right, look, like there is some chance we still would have won our bet if Pitt, like, if they got overtime. I'm not really sure they actually scored 21 because like their offense was just so bad late. Now I know they did score, but like They lost both guards. They already had a tackle out. It was getting problematic. But I love that touchdown. Cade Klubnik, my hero of the week for sure.
I was not so much on the unders today as much as I was heavily invested in Clemson's over 8.5 win total.
Ooh.
And had they lost today, that would have been very much up in the air with the South Carolina game to finish the season. Like, they're going to beat Wofford or whoever the hell it is next week. God, please. Don't. But just, yeah, I was, when I saw Cade just running down the sideline, I was very relieved.
This was a very, very sloppy game because you mentioned, Bud, the fact that they came into the game down 2 offensive linemen. They lose a 3rd offensive lineman in the first possession, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And in having to account for that, they have to shuffle their left guard to the right or right guard to the left. They have to move a tackle. They have to basically only the center was like still the same.
Yeah.
As they had to just sort of account for all of the injury issues. Pitt had a ton of injuries as well, including along the offensive line. And you know what? The game looked like a couple of teams that were out there playing their 9th and 10th game of the season with banged up offensive lines. Nobody could do nothing in this game. You had a lot of passing success early for Cade Klubnik and the Tigers. In the second half, they were scoreless literally until under 2 minutes left. And Cade Klubnik comes up with the answer. Clemson stays alive in the ACC championship race because, again, to remind you, Clemson's ACC schedule is done. They are 7-1. Right now, SMU, which I guess we can get to also here before we hit a break. SMU is undefeated in conference play. Miami has 1 loss in conference play. If Miami loses one of their final 2 games, then Clemson is playing in Charlotte for the ACC championship. They've done their part. So we'll see. You think Clemson is going to win the ACC?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
No. Who you got? Miami?
Yeah.
They finished the job?
I think so.
Okay. Did you think SMU was going to lose?
For a minute.
Kind of. I was just happy that Grayson James played just fine. But I don't know. Like, I kind of did. I mean, like, Boston College had moved it almost every drive, and they got the ball back with enough time to move it again. So it's not crazy to think like they keep moving it, but obviously SMU is a better team. There's a reason they're favored by 20 pregame, but kind of, yeah, that was not their best ever. I think how relieved Lashley looked in the post game,
yes,
tells you a lot of what you need to know about that ball game. He was like, okay, yeah.
It's all of the minus points to me. The times that SMU had to settle for kicking a field goal, the time that they missed a field goal, they did not do a good job of converting scoring opportunities into touchdowns. And they just let Boston College hang around, and that's why it got interesting.
Yeah, 3 touchdowns on 6 red zone trips. You could have easily won this game and kind of put it away early.
Could have covered.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So congratulations to the Mustangs. I know that, this is all new, but this was a good way to finish the job. All right. Coming up on the other side, more of our observations from week 12 and our projections for the new AP Top 25 and more. Next.
CBS Sports HQ, giving you college football coverage unlike anyone else.
We're talking Big Ten.
Pre- and post-game coverage.
Are you encouraged with the way that this team responded?
Along with breaking news.
A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
Highlights and expert analysis.
That streak could be in jeopardy here.
Sure. What was your main takeaway from this game? How impressive was his domination?
That really changed the football game.
Let's go ahead and have some more fun.
Another wild ending.
The chaos continues.
Turn to CBS Sports HQ.
back here on the Cover 3 podcast. Let's open it up. I got a couple more games I want to make sure that we hit, but Tom, hey, no, actually, let's just jump right into it. Illinois. Let's go.
They look good. I mean, they had everything going their way here. I mean, it was senior day. They were facing a Michigan State team that had very little to pretty much non-existent pass rush all season long, who were then also missing two of the starters in their secondary. So Luke Altmaier had a lot of time to sit there and watch guys get open. And Luke Altmaier looked a lot more like the Luke Altmaier we saw early in the season. Pat Bryant finished with 4 catches and 135 yards, a hell of a way to end his Illinois career, at least on senior day at home. Just the best that they have looked since before the Michigan game, I think. It was nice. I enjoy having a Saturday watching Illinois where I don't really have to sweat the fourth quarter.
I didn't watch this one.
Oh,
So
yeah.
Wow.
Wow. Okay. Listen, there was an astute observation offered to all of us about how it might be a good game for Luke Altmaier. Okay.
I bet it. I followed Tom. I bet it. But it was so easy. I didn't need to watch it. Oh, that was good.
Yeah, that 2:30 start is tough. I don't know.
It was weird. It was messing with my head all day as far as like when games were starting and what was going on.
I tell you, I'm blaming the Big East, which means that for the second instant reaction show in a row, we're blaming the Eye on College Basketball Podcast.
Speaking of the Eye on College Basketball
Rivalry
podcast,
continues.
if you are a Purdue fan, what the hell are you doing here? You should be watching and listening to the Eye on College Basketball podcast because we are not the place for you to be. Fun little stat for you guys following Purdue's very entertaining, very dramatic 49-10 win over Purdue on CBS this afternoon. Purdue has now played 4 top 10 teams this season. In those 4 games, the Boilermakers have been outscored 195-17.
So they're not quite ready to be a top 10 team.
No. I mean, they need another couple guys in the portal, and they'll be there.
Fair enough. Tyler Warren Mackey.
I mean, I'll credit the fan, and he plays for Bowling Green. Like, he's not going to get nearly the kind of votes he needs to win it. I
mean, 127 through the air and a touchdown, 63 on the ground and a touchdown. Your tight end is getting like 200 all-purpose yards and 2 tutties. Come on,
just like running untouched for 50 yards for touchdowns.
I love it.
It's great. It's fun.
Yeah. Like we need. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good with Tyler Warren as one of the iconic stars of this 2024 college football season.
How many times do you see a tight end with 96 yards after the catch in a game?
That's what I'm saying. And look, I did think that some of those Purdue tackling efforts in the open field. I mean, there's a size issue that happens when you're trying to bring down Tyler Warren. But sometimes we see people overcome that size issue. Right? I mean, Bud, you remember LaMarcus Joyner. That boy won big. But he was able to overcome those size differentials in a way that I saw a lot of Purdue defenders not. An unfair comparison for Purdue's defenders, but
he had a lot of want to. Also, very, very long arms for his height and a lot of speed and aggression.
Drew Aller starts completing
13
of his first 14 passes. You get Allen going, you get Singleton going. I mean, it was exactly what you wanted.
It was a scrimmage.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Braden Smith's playmaking does not translate to the football field.
If you are a Purdue fan, you beat Alabama at home on Friday night. That is the only thing you should give a single damn about right now.
Beat that big old drum all day Saturday. Who cares what happened? You took down Alabama and Mackey in emphatic fashion. The stinky ass theorem comes home.
Still doesn't make sense. I mean, I'm happy for his players that they don't have to smell him on the plane on the ride home.
Oh, no, he looked right in the CW camera and said, "Oh, we gonna wash. Winners wash," and gave it like a little smile too. Yeah, Syracuse wins at Cal. Yeah, not you might see him pop up in the top 25. We'll see there. How about Rutgers getting the win at Maryland?
Mm-hmm.
Ethan Kaliakmanis it builds on last week's win. I wouldn't say he was the star. I mean, Kyle Monungai getting healthy has totally changed Rutgers' offense in a major, major way. The defense has gotten healthy as well, but probably also, Tom, bad signs for Maryland and the future moving forward, taking this L.
Yeah, because Maryland now falls to 4-6, which means they have to win out to get to a bowl, and their last two games are Iowa and at Penn State.
Yikes.
I'm gonna say they're not going bowling. We're doing that segment again from the show.
Bowl or no bowl?
Yeah, I'm gonna say no for Maryland.
Yeah.
Also, shout out to Demir Miller, transfer receiver that Rutgers got. Not having an incredible year, but he's had some pretty good games for the Knights, and today was another one of them. 8 catches, 107 yards, and a touchdown. He was a playmaker that they had real problems at QB last year, but they also had serious problems at receiver. Miller gives him a solid option.
No, let's go ahead and jump into it right now because I had that up next. Arizona State, 8-2, goes into Manhattan and hands them the business from the moment the game starts.
Handle that ass, dude.
So impressive. Offensive, defensive, winning at the line of scrimmage against Chris Kleiman's team in their own house. It is both a remarkable fall for the Wildcats from our expectations of what this team was going to be and our sort of big picture thoughts on the Kansas State program, but also a big hat tip to Sam Leavitt, to Kenny Dillingham, to, of course, Cam Scadaboo has been one of our favorites for multiple years now. But this Arizona State is 8-2 and hot, frisky right now.
And at least one guy named Tyson had a good weekend. Jordan Tyson, 12 catches, 176 yards, 2 touchdowns. But yeah, like you said, they came into Kansas State's house. They just went right to the fridge, took what they want, grabbed the remote, sat down on the couch, and put their feet up on the table and just made themselves at home.
Bill Snyder Family Stadium just got renamed to Snyder Dillingham with a hyphen.
So
you got married into.
This is like the most misleading box score of the week.
I haven't looked at the box score. I just watched.
So the third quarter yardage differential was Arizona State 38, Kansas State 234. Now, up until that point, it was 360 to 170.
Yes.
Through 3 quarters.
I think Arizona State can be, listen, again, it is 13-10, BYU leading Kansas right now with 4:30 left in the third quarter. I think Arizona State can beat BYU next week.
Yeah, I think anybody in the Big 12 can beat anybody in the Big 12.
Is that game in? It's in the desert, right?
Yep.
It's in Tempe. Mid-afternoon game, too.
And UCF was favored, too. So it was a 17-play field goal drive for BYU. This team's fun. Let's just embrace them. Although, actually, I will say Kansas offense kind of back being fun.
Yeah.
I mean, they got 10 points. So, not that fun, but, some amounts of fun.
Awkward.
What else is on your notebook? What do you want to hit before we do tomorrow's top 25 today? Oh, yeah.
Arkansas drops a lot of kind of just float picks from Quinn Ewers. And you know what? He's not going to throw you 5 of those. So you lose.
He'll only throw you 3.
Yeah. And they were in the first half. Look, Texas is a better team than Arkansas. Arkansas played really hard, but you have to play hard. You have to execute well, and you have to catch the gimmies that Ewers throws you. And they didn't do the third thing there, which you kind of have to do. So they lose. I wasn't super impressed with Texas. Texas keeps trying to force this run game, and I'm just not really sure that it's going to be a good run team this year. But they did protect the passer, I thought, pretty well. So that's an encouraging sign because we have seen Arkansas get after it at times this year.
Where's Quinn next year? The NFL or somewhere else? Because they ain't going to be Texas.
Michigan?
Maybe. He's had success in the big house, that's for sure.
Bud, you going to bite on that one?
I was watching 42 just shove this left guard right back into Devin Neal. He still got the first down, but damn. I don't know where he's going to be. Let's think. So Ryan Day recruited him to Ohio State. Nobody on that staff is elsewhere, right? So there's no logical connection there. If Nuss goes pro LSU,
even if they've got Underwood,
right? Yeah, you're probably going to start Underwood if he comes. I would think. I mean, if you start Lagway, you start Underwood.
Oregon.
That actually makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Just it's such an odd situation because I'm only asking because I think that if you look at his tape this year, I don't know if he's going to get a great NFL grade and he's going to be like an early round pick based on how he's played. So he might be able to get a better payday coming back to school for an extra year and then going. But I don't know. It's Jekyll and Hyde every single week watching that team right now with him. I don't know who we're going to get.
Well, watching that offense. Because I will say,
I mean, he leads the offense.
Right. But you said watching that team, but with him, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but I do think that one of my big, and I think a lot. I'm not alone or a groundbreaker here, but look, that defense sets the tone. Like Alfred Collins, Jahdae Barron, there are some dudes on that defense that are playing at a very high level. And that they play with the kind of edge that you need to go win championships. The reason why I look at Texas and I don't think that they are fraudulent is because they have an extremely high floor for success based on the defense. Now, their ceiling is when all the little dirt bikes get open and Quinn's tummy is healthy and they can push the ball down the field and everything else opens up and Sark's in his bag and everyone's wide open because of the way that one play sets up the other. It's awesome. When everything is clicking with Texas's offense, they look like world beaters, but they don't do that all the time. We now have a very big sample set and it is inconsistent, but the consistency in Texas's excellence has been on the defensive side. They've got players that are balling, and as a unit, they are good. And so I thought that was probably my big takeaway from the Longhorns today.
The drop-off from Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy is not quite as big as I thought it was going to be.
Ooh.
No.
That's a compliment.
Vernon Broughton's been
very good, too. Yeah, Let's shout him out as well. Is it Moore from UTSA? Who's the transfer?
Yeah, Moore from UTSA.
Kenny Moore.
Lole from Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
They built this thing out, man. It's a really, really good defensive unit. They're playing at a high level. They lost Jeff Choate, right?
The GOAT.
He goes to be the head coach at Nevada. Still executing at a high level. So that to me was a big takeaway. A good win for Texas. There were a lot of upset scares all throughout the top 25. I thought that Texas did a good job of handling that on the road. Okay, so as we are looking ahead to the next top 25, which will be released on Sunday, not expecting a ton of changes at the very top of the rankings where, as we mentioned, you've got your SEC log jam. I think that we will see, a slight move up for Georgia, but really more of a move down for Tennessee.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Georgia is not going to jump Ole Miss, the team they lost to just last week. And while it will make Tennessee fans furious that they will fall behind an Alabama team they beat earlier this year, well, you lost to a Georgia team by more points than the Georgia team that lost to the Alabama team. So transitive this, transitive that. That was a long time ago. Sorry. I don't know how to explain this to you. It's all very confusing. Elsewhere in the top 25, we are projecting a lot of shakeup near the end. I've got Kansas State out after their loss to Arizona State. I've got
Missouri
LSU
at 24.
What? No,
I
I've
said
got Missouri.
Missouri at 24.
I've got LSU out after the loss to Florida. I've got Louisville out after the loss to Stanford. I've got Missouri out after the loss to South Carolina. And that's where it gets a little interesting because there are some obvious picks to jump in. Arizona State, Iowa State. These are teams that have, obviously won in this spot. Iowa State beat Cincinnati. Iowa State was also 27th in voting points last week. But to fill out 24 and 25 is going to be a little bit of a grab bag because Louisiana lost to South Alabama, which, yikes. And other teams that received votes last week also took defeats. So does anyone have a nomination or a thought on who might show up in 24 or 25?
I know of a 7-3 team that just won by 22 points today and has been ranked previously this year.
I've got them at 24.
You're damn right you do, because you know ball.
And if Washington State loses here in New Mexico, they also drop out. So you're going to need one more.
I know, and that is
Chip is rooting like hell for Washington State.
I was not rooting like hell for them to score that last touchdown when I was sitting on 35 with the first half under 37 and a half.
I think Syracuse would have a chance.
Tulane?
No, Tulane's up at 21.
Oh, it's in there. Okay.
Yeah.
Can Pitt work its way back in? Oh, no, wait, Pitt lost. I'm sorry.
After a loss.
Iowa State, you said, oh man, I don't know.
It's real grab baggy. I mean, this is where we're going to find the others receiving votes. Or I think we're going to have more teams just because the scatter shot of votes are going to be spread out across a big group.
Does the conspiracy form and rank Colorado State to get a ranked Mountain West Conference title game?
Ooh, I do have Colorado State, Memphis, and James Madison on the watch list to potentially move in. I gave the nod to Syracuse.
Yeah, that makes sense.
7-3 power conference team, just won on the road as a 9-point underdog.
Did you even consider mighty UConn?
No.
Wow.
I did not. My apologies.
Don't apologize to me. Apologize to Jim Mora. You let him down.
I'm not the first.
Wow, shots fired at Brett Hundley for no reason. What are you doing? What are you doing, Jeff?
All right. What else do we have from the notebook?
So Navy's quarterback got hurt, but Tulane was blasting him anyway. So that was nice. Air Force, we already talked about. USF crushes Charlotte without Byron Brown. Charlotte, I wonder how long that's going to work there.
Mm-hmm.
Just run it through games I watched.
I mentioned.
I got some.
Here, how about this? I mentioned Iowa State breaking in the top 25. Like good. Like they not to say in a mean way towards Cincinnati, but it looked like Iowa State had kind of lost the plot. They were playing with fire, then they got burned.
Yeah.
Now they flip things a little bit. They were even trailed early in this game. They come back and they get a good win. So for an Iowa State team that at one point in the year we considered among the better teams in the country, nice to see them get a little bit of balance back.
I've got a couple of shout outs. First one, Blake Harrell. Become the interim coach after Mike Houston's fired at ECU. You've won 3 straight. Yes, it's Temple, FAU, and Tulsa, but you won 3 straight. ECU's going to a bowl. And then also, Tim Albin. Ohio may no longer be a wagon, but damn near every star player on your team from last year got taken in the portal.
Yes. Including
Cross and Curtis Rourke, who are now at Indiana, helping a undefeated team. And you are still winning games. The Ohio Bobcats won on Wednesday night. They are now 7-3 on the season and very much in the MAC race. It's an impressive job that he is doing there.
Tom, if they beat Ball State and Toledo, they're in the MAC title game.
That's what I'm saying.
They lost them even after spring. They went through spring practice and lost starters.
MAC coaches don't really get hired away anymore. But if you're looking for somebody who knows how to build a program and build a culture, a Tim Albin has pretty clearly proven, yes, he inherited it from Frank Solich, but there's been no drop off. In fact, I think they're kind of better
now. Let's see. Anything
for
else?
Chuck Martin in Miami.
For upon further review, I need to watch Baylor, West Virginia. Didn't watch a lick.
Sawyer Robertson tore them up in the first half. I don't know what his final stat line was.
And in the fourth quarter as well.
Yeah.
But not third quarter, nobody did anything. It's okay.
He was like, what, 17 and 19 at halftime?
Yeah.
Just absolute. I'm telling you, I was joking around with Shahan in the Slack because Shahan's a big Baylor fan. Shahan J. Raja went to Baylor, alum. I said, I can't wait to hype Sawyer Robertson up all off season for him to come back.
What team is he on?
I'm not trying to break the guy's heart. I just said I can't wait to hype Sawyer Robertson up all off season for him to return and be like 52% with a 1.1 to 1 touchdown interception ratio.
Memphis thumped UAB. Amarion Hampton ran for 244 yards.
About damn time.
North Carolina bowl eligible at 6-4. Not going to be able to claim the state title because he blew a 20-point lead to Duke. But if Matt can finish with
that's not a week, Chip.
Matt can finish with a win against NC State. They got to go to Boston College next week. That I would give BC the edge vibes wise. You've got a North Carolina team that's won 3 in a row. That's too many. Yeah. Whoa. Hey, you need a heat check. Heat check, young fella.
It's just unsporting.
Yeah. But that was it was a home game. It was a night game. They hadn't had a really like good day in Chapel Hill that kind of builds into a game. And I think that a lot of people enjoyed that one. So congratulations to the Tar Heels. North Texas. Never mind.
They fired their DC today.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
As you probably should do after giving up 48 points to UTSA.
I'm not disagreeing.
It's 2 weeks in a row it's happened to me. Last week with the Utah State touchdown run.
Oh.
And then in this game, I'm sorry. It is, yeah. I'm sitting on my under. 41-27. UTSA gets the ball. Robert Henry, 83-yard touchdown run. Just one play, 83 yards. There goes my under. All UTSA had to do was run out the clock. They were up 14 with 2 minutes left, and they had the ball.
The San Jose beat is bad, by the way. Like, real bad.
What was the line on that? 14
13 and a half or 14, somewhere around there?
14 and a half in those spots.
I didn't see the end. I don't know what happened.
Oh, I watched I watched
super late pick six after like 4 shots down there at the goal line. They couldn't get in.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Notre Dame, Virginia. I see some conversation in the tailgate. Notre Dame was in such control. I moved it off.
Yes.
35-0 with 18 minutes left.
I would say
what
of all like the Power 5 good teams.
Okay.
I have watched Notre Dame live the least. I always watch them the next day.
Did you see this?
In Kansas, BYU.
So BYU punts. I think it hits the Kansas player. BYU's guy dives on it. There's not really anybody else around. He can't corral it. It shoots like 6 yards off, and then the Kansas player recovers it.
Which is, by the way, he recovers 5 yards from the goal line.
Hold on a second. It definitely hits BYU's head. Got like it hits the head of the BYU player. Oh, Kansas punted. Excuse me.
Targeting.
So Kansas punts. It hits the head of the BYU player.
Oh, this is going to be dumb.
So it should be dead there, right? I think
so, but I can't pretend.
No, it shouldn't be. Never mind. No, what I'm thinking, it hit BYU first.
Wait, so can't okay.
Yeah, this is gonna be Kansas ball.
Live ball.
Yeah, that's a live ball.
Yeah.
Riveting for our extremely
This is
large
great
Sunday
podcasting.
audience.
You know what? Anybody listening at 12:52 a.m.
No, but that's the thing is they're not listening. If you're watching, you're probably watching us with this game. As we see, like tons and tons of people do, they throw us up on their phone or on their iPad or on their computer, and then they've got their TV, or they throw us on the TV and the game on the phone or the iPad. Like, however you've got your multi-screen experience, the tailgate is all watching it too.
I'm about to watch another one of my unders die in the final minute of a game.
Oh, the Washington State, New Mexico game?
Uh-huh.
Wait, who's gonna punch it in?
New Mexico's got the ball inside the 10, down 4 with 47 seconds left. First and goal.
All right, pick 6. Come on.
No, just give me a tackle.
No, I
you know what? There's
I took some 12. I laid 12.5 live when Dan Pierre went to the injury tent.
Ah, okay.
So it's on me.
yes, that's on you. 100%. All right, so again, we've got some games that we are going to get back. We're going to review. We are going to be back on Monday with a pun for the review, more notes on the weekend, as well as setting the table for the week ahead. And you can follow him on Twitter at Tom Fornelli. You can follow him at Bud Elliott 3. You can follow me at Chip_Patterson. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Let's get a stop, Cougs.
See y'all.